So a lot of people were curious on what happened to the Knights of Ren in The Last Jedi. They were mentioned a fair enough in The Force Awakens, particularly by Snoke himself, saying that Kylo Ren was the master of the Knights of Ren. And then you see him in the Force vision by Rey. You see Kylo Ren surrounded by what we all assume, and most likely assume correctly, is the Knights of Ren. So in an interview with Empire on a podcast, they asked why, Rian Johnson, it was Rian Johnson, they were asking him why they weren't in the movie. And he said, we have a very full movie already. There literally was just not room for another element. I guess I could have used them in place of the Praetorian Guards. I believe that's the phrase or the name for them. He said, but then it would feel like wasting them because all those guards had to die, and if Kylo had some kind of connection to them, it would have added a complication that would have helped the scene. Or that wouldn't have helped the scene. So the truth is, I just didn't see a place for them in the movie. And I can agree with Rian Johnson's reasonings on not having him in, especially with the movie we had. Replacing Snoke's guards with these guys and killing them off so soon, I would have been a little frustrated by that. I would have been like, dude, these are guys that we were supposed to, they were underneath Kylo Ren's, leadership, and he just kills them off like they were nothing, with no emotional connection to any of these guys. That's kind of weird. And, we kind of talked about them a little bit more in The Force Awakens, and we're kind of interested by them, and you just kill them off. So it's kind of like, alright, well that seems stupid, why mention him at all? So I completely agree with Rian Johnson's move here. However, I do have a problem with him saying that we already have a very full movie already, and that there was no room for another element. This is the right element, in my opinion. One problem I have with The Last Jedi is, people were always saying it's the darkest Star Wars movie. It's really not that dark in any sense of it at all. And I do think if it was going to be even more dark, you would have had to have the Knights of Ren in it. And I think this would have helped it a lot in involving the Knights of Ren, especially cutting back on scenes like the Canto Bight with Rose and Finn. A lot of the scenes in this movie are very long and dragged out when they don't need to be. And if you cut those and you can add, some character development with the Knights of Ren, I think it would have helped a lot. And personally, I think it would have been interesting to see Kylo Ren talk about them, or even fight them, and surely show his turn to the dark side, them feeling betrayed by him because he killed off Snoke. So maybe we're going to see him in Episode 9, hopefully we do, because J.J. Abrams is the one that brought them to life. Another thing Rian Johnson talked about was Snoke. He talked about why he killed Snoke off so early, and, people, including myself, are a little frustrated with that. It's not the fact that we didn't like Snoke, or we didn't think Snoke was, like, something we need to talk about too much. It was just as, well, you brought him in, and not only that, we don't know who this guy is because he's coming from nowhere. How did he rise to power as a dark side user when it was Palpatine and Vader, and then they died out, and then he just shows up out of nowhere? I need that to kind of be explained. And so Rian Johnson says why he kills him off so early. He says, I like Snoke as a character. As Andy Serkis plays him, he's delicious, which is a weird phraseology for this, whatever. He said he's evil and he's fun, but Kylo to me is where the interesting stuff is. And the notion of clearing the deck of the Vader-Emperor dynamic so that all bets are off in the final movie in terms of how the villainy is going to play out, that to me seems much more interesting. And I can kind of agree with that. I mean, he's making some good points, some good creative points. However, I just feel like he executes everything poorly. Snoke isn't, the best character in the world, and by all means, he's just kind of there, and he just serves a purpose as a stepping stool for Kylo Ren. However, it would have just been a little more interesting to learn about Snoke, just a tad bit, just something interesting. To be fair, a lot of the theories were the reasons that people were excited to see who Snoke was, but it also is the fact that logic would deem you need to know where this dark villain guy came out, especially because he looks so old and damaged. It's kind of like, well, what's his story? And then he doesn't have a story, so it's kind of hard to care about him, and so what happens? We just don't care about him. So I guess all in all, his points are very fair. I can't argue too much with them. I do wish there was a lot of things he would change up in the movie. I wouldn't have mind seeing the Knights of Ren. I do understand that the film is, a few minutes after The Last Jedi, or hours, so it makes sense that, in that time frame, they just can't magically pull them out. But still, a little frustrating for me, but I understand his reasoning, and I can't complain too much. There are, of course, things I'd love to fix about this film, but gotta come to peace with it, right? So, comment your thoughts below. Would you have liked to see the Knights of Ren, and would you have liked to see more development on the character of Snoke in The Last Jedi, or do you think Rian Johnson's reasonings for this are completely just and fine? Comment your thoughts below. I'm Star Wars Only. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you all next time. May the Force be with you, always.